Hello, lovelies. This is Lynn. I am on my last reading of the day. Today is Saturday, April 12th, and this one is kind of a could be out of left field. Then again, it could be just, my intuition saying this is a reading that we need to look at. And it's more than likely option two. It's behind door number two. Anyway, I wanted to read about the Supreme Court as a whole. And if I have time and I don't, drop my head in the middle of this, I may get through all of them. I may do a few of them, or I may do them all, but there are a handful of them that I really want to do a deep dive on. Actually, I want to do a deep dive on all of them because I'm sensing a great deal of unrest among them. There's, there's the cohesiveness because they're Supreme Court justices, but there are the ones who are standing out to me as undermining the democracy. And then there are the ones who are ethical. And it's like they're pitted against each other. And so they each have their own feelings and how things are going to play out. Um, and so that's why I really want to do a deep dive. And I hope that I'll have that done tonight with this reading, but it may be divided into a couple. Also depends on how long this gets. So with that, let me dive in. All right. I have two different decks that I'm using. They're both the Trish James Oracles. One is her predictions deck, one is the investigation deck. Here we go. These are the investigation. These over here are the predictions. And so the Supreme Court justices are about to be judged. And I suspect that a handful of them are not going to enjoy that. Whatever they're accused of, it will be an accusation based on evidence and statements from witnesses. And that evidence is a trail. It could be a paper trail, it could be a digital trail, it could be human trail. Oh, I got nauseous over that one, which always means one thing: human. I'll let you fill in the next word for that. And it could be related to a crime of passion or desire. I don't believe, well, oh, I don't know that for sure. Um, I suspect there is knowledge um, about what I said here about the human trail, and that they looked the other way. And if that's the case and that information comes out, those who chose not to do anything about it, who chose to look the other way, will be very much judged harshly. The other thing that I wonder, back in 2018, Justice Kennedy resigned from his position and at, I believe, Trump's request, but I'm not positive of that. I do recall the video of the two of them walking together in the White House, and Kennedy stopping and clearly a angry, I believe. I would call that energy very angry energy with 45. But the thing that really stood out to me at that time, Kennedy's son worked for Deutsche Bank and was part of the loans that Trump took out from Deutsche Bank. And so there's a part of me that doesn't wonder if Kennedy isn't going to come back around and talk about that connection, why he stepped down when he stepped down, why he retired when he retired. Um, he's now out of the picture, but he knows that there's a family connection, and I'm certain that he feels like the Supreme Court is heading in the wrong direction. And if any of the current Supreme Court justices retire or step down, resign, that means 45 will fill yet another seat on the Supreme Court. Anyway, so I feel like the Supreme Court, we know that a number of cases have come in front of the Supreme Court that include classified information, and they have to make judgments on the classified information. They could be compromised, which harms not just the Supreme Court, but the entire nation, because how they are compromised then influences how they vote, how they decide, how they rule on cases that come before them. There is evidence of scandals, at least one, if not more so than one, allegedly. And I very strongly feel that a number of the Supreme Court justices currently on the bench are feeling like they are carrying some very heavy burdens. So, okay, I'm going to pause here and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's first look at Chief Justice Roberts, and I'm using the What's the T Oracle cards. Um, First card that comes up is marrying for money. I know Justice Roberts' wife is a contractor now. She was a lawyer. She worked for a law firm, and now she's a contractor and helps prepare people, or companies, I should say, who have cases that are coming in front of the Supreme Court, and has made a significant amount of money from that contract work. I would not at all have a problem with her being a contractor doing that kind of work if it weren't for the fact that her husband is the Chief Justice. That to me feels like a conflict of interest. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong. Um, I feel like he's running from something. What that may be, I don't know. Could be the truth. Could be 45's followers who have proven to be violent and sarcastic, who are willing to perpetrate stochastic terrorism, which means the threat of terrorism against a person. It's that constant fear of that harm, basically. And he's very haunted by that. Um, he's very, and he does feel that threat. And it's very traumatic for both him and his wife. But his method of handling this, particularly with 45, is fake smile, whatever you say. And then he chooses to do that which he wishes to do. And he makes decisions. I'm certain that he has made decisions in 45's favor, but I think the tide is turning for Chief Justice Roberts. I think he's had his fill, and I think he's about done. Let's check with the pendulum on that. Chief Justice Roberts feeling like he is done with 45 and deciding in 45's favor. Oh, hang on a second. Okay, let me try that again. Because apparently that was the wrong pipe moment. All right, so a forward to back is a yes, no for me. I'm going to stop that. A side to side is a no. Sorry. Let me try that all again. Forward and back is a yes. Side to side is a no. I like to start by giving it some energy in a circle. Can you tell me if Chief Justice Roberts is tired of 45 and deciding cases in his favor? Okay, that was a yes. Oh, perfect timing. Okay, so this next reading is going to be for Clarence Thomas. I'm using the Trish James investigation deck, and he is deeply involved in uh, whatever is happening. Hmm. I think he's deeply involved with 45. I could be wrong, but I think he is. This card cracks me up because it's a justice card. And if he's in, it has been reported that his wife, Jenny Thomas, played a role in January 6th. allegedly. To my knowledge, no charges have ever been um, filed against her. But I find it very interesting that a justice card comes up in relation to Clarence Thomas. And next to that is a lover's card. So the question that I have is, if she was accused, oh, wow, that makes more sense now. If she really was involved in the planning and carrying out the January 6th Capitol invasion, how involved was he with that? And if he was involved, will they ever face justice for that involvement? And then the last card that I have for them on this upper row from the investigation deck is that a heavy burden is carried. I'm not clear in what way. And right now, I'm not going to pull any clarifying cards on this one. I may set this one aside. I may come back to that later. I doubt it because I feel like these cards down here probably clarify that. um, this is a man who really likes his lifestyle. He's always partying. And please note, those are champagne glasses there. He gets to be around very influential people when he is at those parties. Um, the problem is that he acts rich, he shows off, he acts fancy, but it's all fake, which got him, yeah, see, this comes back to that heavy burden card up here. I think he really, really enjoys that high life. And I think that he got in over his head with debt and turned to the wrong person for a loan to get out of debt. This is alleged. This is my opinion, and I could be very wrong. But when he turned to that person, he ended up paying the debt back with his decisions on the court. I also get the feeling that this is a man who likes the drama and there's a potential that he has created fake accounts on social media so he can go check and see who's talking about him, or he can, you know, find out more about, let's just say it's his form of research. I'll go there. And um pulling information together for his own use. And this is alleged. All of this is alleged. It's for entertainment purposes only. At the end of the day, though, he feels like he's too busy winning and he's unfazed. Like none of the he doesn't care. He doesn't care that his wife has been accused of helping to plan and execute the January 6th Capitol riots. He does and terrorism, basically. He doesn't care. He just sits there happy, and so far nobody has touched him, and he's feeling pretty secure in that. I see no intention here of him leaving the bench anytime soon. He likes this way of life a lot. Along with this fake flexing card, he's got the always partying and the champagne flutes. None of these people will stand by him. None of them will be loyal to him should he fall from grace. He's going to have a very rude awakening when he does retire. Nobody will invite him anymore unless he brings the money, unless he brings some kind of influence. Hmm. Okay, let me pause and we'll move on to the next. Okay, next up we have Samuel Alito. I'm using the What's the Tea and the Trish James investigation deck again. At the top here are the investigation deck cards. Once again, we have the Justice card. I don't, if what I'm reading into these cards here is true, we should all hope how do I say this? That it becomes clear to the pot to the that evidence comes out. There we go. That any, if it's true, any evidence to support that is made public. There we go. Um, there is a connection, and I asked my spirit guides if that connection was to any of the planning and execution of the J6 riots, and I got a yes. And then it's a well-funded operation. And then there's a home search or house on here. Which tells me that the trail of evidence is located there. And it may not be their main home. I believe he has a secondary home. I also believe that there's somebody on his law clerk team who is undercover, like a mole in the camp. They're taking information back and reporting to others what's happening. Could very well be that he's been under investigation for the past 4 years or longer, collecting evidence, that person, whoever may be undercover. And then finally, masked, not true-faced. So, and I asked my spirit guides, if this was in relation to the person working undercover as the mole in the camp, or if this was Alito himself, and I got a yes for both, which I found very interesting. And then the next part of his reading, um, it's very possible that he and his wife overspend And any money that they have taken in. Oh, that's interesting too. Good point. This could be both financially and spiritually bankrupt, ethically bankrupt. This is a man who hustles, but who is he hustling to get that money? Who does he kiss ass? Who does he talk up? Who does he want to impersonate? There are three Supreme Court justices that make my skin crawl. This is one of them. And that's on me. I know why I react that way. It's not something I'm willing to discuss, but I know why I react that way. I have yet to be wrong. All right. Let me set up for the next one. I'll be right back. Okay, for this one, I'm just using the investigation deck. I went through my what's the tea and my none of them stood out to me as being applicable for and this is for Sonia Sotomayor. Um, she is a woman who knows far too much and she would love to be able to talk about it, but she has, I don't know whether okay, she'd love to be able to talk about it, but she is not in a place where she's able to. She is a woman of strength and faith. And really, right now, that is what is getting her through because it is, these are challenged. She is very challenged in that regard right now. Um, Next, we have the high priestess. She has a great deal of hidden knowledge, which goes back to that knows a lot, wants to talk, cannot. And so her strength and her faith are leading her through the difficult times. And she knows that these difficult times are all about distracting. This is the magician, and illusions and manipulation and gaslighting. It's not what it seems to be. The things that we see in front of us, a lot of people want to make us believe aren't real. So that's the gaslighting. And then there's the manipulation of our belief system through propaganda and mis and disinformation and lies, gaslighting, all of that. So she is feeling that the burden of the knowledge that she holds, she's definitely feeling that. Um, the interesting thing here is that the other half of the cards that I pulled for her is one of them is, so this one here is distraction. Not everything is as it seems, but this card is the magician. Only in this deck, it represents dark rituals. And if she has knowledge of that kind of, I'm wondering if this isn't a case that has come before her. Oh, cases that have come before her, before the court. and she's aware of it. And so that's why she can't talk about it. Um, and here's a young woman, and the side of the card says hostage or trade. And I'll let you put two and two together there. That is a crime of desire, and it is a crime of abuse and violence. This part, these last four cards, feels like a transnational crime syndicate and or case. And so the not everything is as it seems, and having to have strength. I mean, I know how I feel just hearing about it in the news and knowing that it exists in general, um, makes me nauseous usually. It usually makes me nauseous, particularly when I connect with that energy directly, because I feel the victim's energy. It's very rare that I feel a perpetrator's energy on that. Mostly that's self-protection, you know. So, all right, let me pause for a minute and go on to the next one. Be right back. Hey, I'm still using the What's the Tea and the Trish James investigation deck. And I'm reading for Elena Kagan this time. This is a woman who is a risk taker because she has the authority to do so. It is a calculated risk. She's a very wise woman. She is a planner. She is a strategic. She's very strategic with the risks that she takes. Behind closed doors, however, she may be suffering from illness, and either that is a mental illness or a physical illness. But either way, I think she's keeping her, I think she's keeping that quiet, if that is the case, because she doesn't want 45 to have any thoughts about what he can do. And I set these two aside. One of them says staged, set up, or framed, and the other one says drugged or poisoned. Let me bring that one closer. Um, this one feels very much like her knowledge about the Butler PA supposed assassination attempt. Um, she knows it was staged, allegedly, and I always go back to it being staged because your ear is mostly made up of cartilage, particularly the area of the ear that he said was shot. And cartilage does not regrow quickly, does not heal quickly because it has very limited blood supply or no blood supply. So it would be, you know, and two, the type of ammunition used in that event uh, he would not have had an ear left, nor would he have walked away with anything less than a severe concussion. There would have been a traumatic brain injury from that had the yeah. So I also feel like some of the cases that she is has worked on involve the same type of cases that I just talked about in Sotomayor, sorry, in terms of the trading of the transnational um, organized crime cases, which both of these feel like they're related to that as well. And then finally, um, of of those that I've read so far, Chief Justice Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Sonia Sotomayor. So, God, Sonia Sotomayor, it is late and I am getting tired and I should move on quickly. This is the first one that I've seen who is contemplating retirement. She has the moving on, thank you next, and moving. And that could be because of all the grief that she's gotten, specifically because of 45. Or it could just be, if she really is um, struggling with an illness, then that those are very good reasons, either one of them. So, and really, anybody who wants to retire, more power to you. More power to you. So do it as soon as you can. Go and enjoy life. All right. Let me pause for a moment and I'll be right back. Let's keep going. Okay, next we have Neil Gorsuch that I'm going to read on, and I'm using the investigation deck by Trish James again. So I have some interesting cards, and I had to ask my spirit guide some questions about it. And the cards that have come up are about cases that he has heard and the ones that have been in front of his bench. And so he's had to make judgments on those. This is a man with a great deal of hidden knowledge. This card is the High Priestess card. Just because the name on the card has gender identity, I do not attribute gender to the energy. So he has a lot of hidden knowledge and he would like to talk about it, but if he does, it would be massive chaos. Massive, massive chaos. Obviously, they all sign NDAs, so they're not allowed to talk about the cases are not that are, I guess, I'm not real sure how it goes with the Supreme Court, but I would think that some of it is classified information, and clearly they're not able to talk about the cases that come before them where they're making decisions on those cases. Now, the Supreme Court docket is supposedly public information. So I guess I'm not real sure how much information we as the public get by seeing the docket schedule and who is or is not filing those cases. But let's just suffice it to say he has seen a lot in his years on a bench, whether that be the Supreme Court or a lower court. He comes with a lot of knowledge, and a great deal of that knowledge is in relation to the chariot. Um, and Trevor at Scrying Out Loud um, shared at one time that this is his card for um, vehicles and traffic and that type of event, and it involves humans. If you understand what I mean, I'm trying not to say it all together so that it's not easily discovered. There's AI tools that will review all of the transcripts, and they look for certain words. So you know, when I say vehicles and traffic and that type of thing, movement, and I need you to put two and two together on those. Okay? Um, he knows who's behind the organization of that and how they meet and when they meet and where things are hidden, um, and the types of abuse that occur. And and of interest to me though is he hopes that there will be a breakthrough on this. That's better than I give him. Um, because he's a 45 appointee, I expected there to be dirt that 45 could hold over his head. But I asked my spirit guides about that and they said no. Or I shouldn't say that. I didn't ask my spirit guides that question. Sorry. What I asked was, were the cards that came up for him related to his actions? And they said no. And I asked, were the cards that came up for him related to the cases that he has had in front of his bench? And they said yes. And so that made me feel good. And I'm glad to hear that. I'll leave it there. All right, let me pause for a moment and go on to the next. I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have Brett Kavanaugh, and I am using both the What's the Tea and the Investigation deck again. There we go. Same ones, same ones. These are the only two that I'm really using right now. Nothing else has called to me, so I'm just going to go with it. I think when he agreed to accept the nomination for the Supreme Court justice position, he was feeling a lot of stress. I think he was having some legal issues, and I think he felt like he was dodging bullets from money collectors, and he was living above he was living a lifestyle that was above his means. So I feel like he was like this was a way of putting off the inevitable, maybe. Um, I do feel like he's seen the light. This is the Hermit card. And on the side here, it says kept in the dark. Let me bring that up, maybe. There we go, sort of. Um, the hermit is the person who is very introspective and lights the way on the path. They are generally the person who is secure enough in themselves that they can live alone and be happy alone, and not feel like they are in need of company. And, they don't have to be social to be fulfilled. They don't, anyway, but in the way this card is feeling to me right now, he's had a wake-up call and he's seeing the light. And the whole set of readings that I'm doing here is I wanted to do a deep dive on the SCOTUS, but also kind of how they're feeling about each other and about 45, and what does kind of the future look like for them all. So that's where I'm coming from. He's seeing the light as to who 45 is. That said, because his debts were paid off right as he was moving into that position. Mm, he's feeling like he sold his soul to the devil. He'd be right. He did. Unfortunately, when things go to poop, and they always do, 45 is going to say, "Oh, look, here's your bus. Let me drive it over you." And then I don't know them. It's the first I'm hearing of it. He has also been involved in hearing those cases regarding transnational organized crime, excuse me. Um, and because of that, I suspect that well, so becoming a Supreme Court justice is the pinnacle of any legal career. It is an amazing accomplishment. And yet, with everything good, there's also, with every positive, there's a negative. Life has a way of finding balance, usually. But there's a part of me that wonders if he's not feeling like, with this heavy burden carried, his soul is owned by 45. I'm wondering if he's not feeling like he's paying a really high price for what he got. And in 45's brain, he's probably thinking, "Hey, that was a good deal. I'd have paid a lot more." You know, I could be mistaken, allegedly, and for entertainment purposes only, because we're entertaining new ideas. Thank you, Karen, in case you're watching. All right, I'll be right back. We have more. Okay, this next reading is on Amy Coney Barrett, and I'm still using investigation and what's the tea decks. I have a stack of cards from the investigation deck here, and I'm not going to read them, or I'm not going to show them all. I should say that. Let me just say that this is a woman of incredible strength, and the reason is because the kind of cases that she has presided over, are these kind. Um, and to say the least, that's not easy to hear, no matter who you are. There's, again, connected to the transnational crime organizations. There is a sense of extremely evil people behind those cases. And I asked, so the what's the T cards that came up: bankrupt, crying over you, dusted off, and broke ass. I asked my spirit guide if the bankrupt and broke ass um, were the reason why she was nominated to become a Supreme Court justice, and got a yes to that. So it's possible that either she or her, I think she's married, I think she has a husband, if they were financially in a situation financially that became a became an opportunity for 45, and that was a yes. So I don't know anything for a fact. It's all alleged. All right. I have, I believe, one more. Let me look and see. Yep, Ketanji Brown Jackson is my last one. So let me set up for her and I will be right back. Okay, and my last person is Ketanji Jackson Brown. Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'll get things right eventually. I might be cold and in a coffin, but it'll be right eventually. All right, so same card decks, investigation deck by Trish James, and what's the T? Um, she has also worked on cases that are involved transnational organized crime. I'm just going to leave it there. It is satanic, ritualistic. Actually, the satanic ritualistic cases have come up for every one of these last 4 or 5 that I read on, particularly Amy Coney Barrett. So that's really hard to hear. I do not envy any of them their role and their position on the Supreme Court or even lower courts hearing those kind of cases, because those are incredibly high, incredibly hard, and they will leave you haunted. Memories and flashbacks and trauma, and just hearing about those cases can leave that kind of traumatic response in the body. Um, Clearly, she is a justice, she's a lawyer, she's a judge, and she is a queen rising. I do believe that Ketanji Jackson Brown is going to be our next Chief Justice. I hope so. I hope so. I think she would be really fantastic in that position. So, all right. Those are my readings on the Supreme Court and each of the justices. Ooh, this is a long video. Sorry for the length on it. I will put in, I'm going to put timestamps in. I might should have said that at the very beginning. So, and in order of the way these readings, it was Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. Those are, I don't even know where I was going to go with that. I am so grateful for your being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that you enjoyed this reading. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening. You, as a reminder, are made of stardust and magic. You are far more powerful than you realize, and you are profoundly loved. Have a great evening, afternoon, day, wherever your time is that you're seeing this. I hope it's a good one for you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye now.